Prey 2017 is an extremely versatile game. From freezing aliens with a cum gun to using an ability that makes yourself a sentient mug, this game truly is the gift that keeps on giving. However, being a cup and jizzing on aliens is not the focus of today's video. So strap yourself in, reopen the Wonderland Murders case, because today I'm seeing if I can beat Prey using only the pistol. Todd Howard, that big cheeky man, demanded me to tell him my pronouns before I was allowed to start the game. After a quick elevator and helicopter ride, I arrived at the TranStar headquarters before having a brief interaction with my brother Alex, where he conversed with a wall. I impressed all of his colleagues with my amazing ability to blend into my surroundings, as well as acceptable moral compass. One of them didn't ask for milk in his coffee, and I was knocked out by a weapon designed by Dr. Nefario. Little did I know the game was about to get a whole lot scarier, boys and girls. You see, not only had Bethesda invited Sloth from the Goonies onto set, but when I broke the window of my apartment, I discovered I was inside Alex's Sims 4 game. Now free from simulated living, I watched Ditto's emo cousin positively dick down this poor passerby before being a tactical coward and running past every enemy in the Talaswan lobby to be introduced to the Neuromod, essentially Prey's level up system. Much like the time I stole my anaphylactic friend's EpiPen, I could now feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins and run marginally faster. Before continuing, I feel the need to clarify that in this run I could only deal damage to enemies with the pistol. However, if there was a turret active, I was allowed to leave it active, but could not move it. Clear? Great. Using my newfound power, I made my way to my old office, where Pas Morgan had something important to tell me. Alex threw a big tanty because myself and I were not letting him in on the secret and shut down my video. This forced me to make my way to Dr. Calvino's workshop to reboot my looking glass screen. Along the way, I picked up my first usable weapon, although I didn't bother upgrading it due to our mutual understanding of me leaving it in the future for something much younger, newer, and shinier. Dr. Calvino had decided to rip out the side of the space station to get some fresh air, meaning I had to spacewalk my way out to his corpse to get the key to his office. Finally in his office, I got my first proper taste of how difficult killing anything with an unupgraded weapon would be before rebooting the Looking Glass system. The Typhon are not the only enemies in Prey, and on my way back to the office, I was accosted by the love child of a PlayStation Slim and Mr. Gutsy. Employing my superb combat abilities, I managed to escape relatively unscathed. Pas Morgan directed me to treat Talos 1 as a fork to Space's power outlet, and I was off to blow up the station. He even 3D printed a mechanical version of myself to not only help, but to further confuse the shit out of me with how many Morgan News there are floating around this game already. The first step of my grand act of domestic terrorism was getting to the Arboretum to make my arming key. Tupac once said, "I'd rather die like a man than live like a coward." I took his advice and did the opposite in Psychotronics by grabbing the psychoscope needed to go through this area and avoiding every enemy with relative ease, until I reached the first proper challenge of the run. I could not progress without defeating the Voltaic Phantom. This amalgamation of a bathtub, toaster and Typhon meant I had to backtrack for 20 minutes until I finally had enough bullets to kill it and to move on to the supply tunnel connecting the Arboretum to Psychotronics, known as the Guts. The Guts were about as fun as receiving a prostate exam from Freddy Krueger. You see, sometimes my mood is much like a balloon in the fact that it only takes one little prick to ruin it, and in this case there were hundreds of them. I also played the most fucked up game of hide and seek in my life to find the corpse holding the code to move on. However, I improvised, adapted, and overcame. Once in the Arboretum, I gave rebooting lifts a chance, but the technopath in here was hell-bent on spreading my cheeks like Moses did to the Red Sea. It was clear to me I'd need a new weapon. I parkoured my way up to Alex's office, didn't find Alex's fabled collection of Animal Crossing hentai, and decided to add Artemis to my arsenal by completing the Golden Gun side mission and opening opening the safe. I was now equipped with my endgame weapon. However, to progress I needed to find a crew member named Danielle Sho. I needed to find her because the door to deep storage was locked with voice recognition. I decided to go ahead and just find Danielle instead of running around like Cardinal Pell at a kid's birthday party looking for transcribes. And I was also ready to explore the crew quarters, feeling like what I imagine Americans feel like every day. This telepath and I played Ring Around a Rosie, and I managed to not kill 20% of the people under its mind control. And as my dear old grandfather used to say, 20% is half of the battle. I used my amazing detective abilities to figure out that this man was not this man, and having played this game numerous times, I told him to shut his mouth when he was talking to me, because what's cooler than being ice cool? Being ice cold. Danielle's partner had a transcribe from Danielle telling her to knock on the gymnasium window, so it must have been a hilarious twist when it was me instead of her dead girlfriend. Using the voice clips from Danielle, I was now into deep storage, where Alex had heard of the pandemic and liked the idea so much that he initiated a station-wide lockdown. I met these funny little fellas who ceased breathing shortly after my arrival. I tried to download the plans for my Arm & Key, Alex stopped me, and I rebooted the drive and finished the download, meaning Alex's interruption was more of a mild inconvenience than anything else. Now with 50% of the Arm & Keys, I could almost blow up 100% of the station. Using my level 1 leverage, I moved these blocks that required level 3 leverage because, as our great leader always says,
it just works.
And was having a great time pretending I was going to Tatooine to find Obi-Wan Kenobi until this box curb stomped me. I can only imagine it was seeking revenge for the 5 minutes of abuse I caused its electronic friends.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
Dr. Igwe was being about as useful as a condom machine in the Vatican, so I threw him back into Talos One before following him into the cargo bay. I spent less time killing the enemies here than I did stealing every resource off the survivors. By this point in time, I'd invested my neuromods into medkits healing more, being able to hack, being able to fully upgrade my pistol, deal more damage, be able to stealth, and deal sneak attack bonuses. The survivors wanted to take the fight to the Typhon by deploying a bunch of turrets in a firing line. However, as soon as they gave me the code to the door, I proceeded to close all of their defences and fire indiscriminately into the masses. There were no casualties, and the survivors realised it wasn't about how many turrets we had, but it was really about the friends we made along the way. Now I was on to the segment of the game that made me want to and smash them into my I thought I had to kill the Voltaic Phantom, when in actuality I had to kill this Technopath, which I spent the first 20 minutes hiding from. And it was at this point my OBS stopped recording and I didn't realise. I kid you not, this part alone took me just under an hour of running back and forth, scrapping items, building bullets. I don't have the footage, so you'll just have to believe this is how I defeated the Technopath. Getting down to the power station was slightly tricky, however after a short bit of backtracking, shooting and firewalking, I was able to waltz straight past my dying colleague Michaela to reboot the station's power and take us out of Alex's lockdown. Michaela wouldn't stop whining about her lungs and not being able to breathe, so I got her a medicine and was off to exact some revenge. This time it was I who was the cheek spreader, and the lifts were back online too. Everything was coming up Millhouse. Even Alex said he didn't want to lie to me anymore, and I excitedly ran up to his office expecting to find the file I was searching for earlier unlocked. Not quite as exciting, but arguably more important, was the revelation that I didn't need to kill everyone on the ship, but I could instead destroy the Typhon by using a big null wave device. I hid in this corner like a bitch because I knew something quirky was about to go down. Just as I predicted, a sudden act of tomfoolery occurred, as the announcement of a station-wide takeover by Commander Dahl, complete with his rescue crew trying to save me so hard that they almost killed me. I completely ignored Dahl and his robots for the time being because I thought it would be more fun to throw up from motion sickness and spend half an hour in space scanning the coral with my psychoscope. At least now I could craft the null wave device. Now the flavour of the month was getting to Dahl. Dr. Igwe suggested that we incapacitated him so we had a way off the ship because apparently he's the only person on this spaceship that knows how to fly in space. I went to the shuttle bay to find him, but my game decided to crash. Now, I truly am ashamed of how long it took me to get to this shuttle, so I'll do a quick little time lapse for you here. Eventually I did reach the shuttle to find that Dahl wasn't there, but in his place was a transcribe from my father telling him to kill everyone on the ship, including Alex and I. Dahl threatened to kill everyone in the cargo bay by removing the oxygen in Talos. Negotiations were short and Talos 1 was back to its usual Typhon-infested self. Alex was so impressed with my gunslinging ability that he told me to meet him in the Arboretum. I tried to continue to impress Alex with my parkour, but he just had to go and one-up me by floating into the sky with all the grace of a brick thrown at a baby. I threw him back into his room instead of killing him, because if Better Call Saul taught me anything, it's that brothers stick together. I'm pretty sure that was the moral of that show. I almost accidentally blew up the ship by heading down to the power plant. I backtracked back to Psychotronics and remembered all the great times I had here. I planted the nullwave device on the heart of the coral and ran back to the now Picasso-looking ass ship. Alex and January were arguing about whether to use the nullwave device or blow up the ship. I would agree with January, but then we'd be both wrong, so I gave him the good old-fashioned JFK treatment. Now I got to press my well-earned big red button. Turns out it was all one big dream. As I awoke to Alex and his variety of sex robots, I came to the revelation that I was a Typhon all along. This was Alex's last experiment to try and save the already Typhon-infested world. I decided to shake Alex's hand because it was the right thing to do, and also because killing him would mean I would fail the run. After giving Alex a handjob, I beat Prey 2017 using only the pistol. Please leave a like and tell me what challenge you'd like to see me do next in the comments below. Or leave a dislike and a death threat down in the comments below also. Have a great one, Chiefs.